Hey, listen up. Yeah, we here and we locked in. Let's keep it going all the way to the top 10. We fear the turtles, so it's no other option. Fred and Ryan, just watch them. Let's take it to the max. It's the shell and tell. They come with all the facts. It's the shell and tell. Let's take it to the max. It's the shell and tell. They come with all the facts. It's the shell and tell.
What's up, Terp fans? Welcome back to yet another episode of Shell and Tell podcast. It's Wednesday, September 14th, and we got the Three Stooges back in the studio today. We got all together. It's been a while since we've done this.
Yeah, it's been too long, so I'm definitely now that the season's in full swing, it's time to get back at it.
Yeah, I've been taking turns, but we got the threesome back together. We're getting ready to go.
The Terps win big in Charlotte. Now sit 2-0 on the year, and it feels so
mediocre.
Okay, I guess.
I don't know how to take it, man. I wish I could just buy in and get excited, but it's like at least this week what we thought was going to be good was good, but we still got some big questions on the horizon.
Yeah, and obviously going into this week with being 2-0, big week 3 matchup against SMU, obviously a 7:30 p.m. kickoff for Maryland fans, and what could be the first real challenge, I think will be definitely a telling matchup, so we'll delve into that. But before we get in too deep into this week's episode, this week's show, today's episode is sponsored by Quick Stretch and Body Works. Quick Stretch and Body Works help athletes with their performance and recovery periods, both during and in the off seasons. The naturally formulated athletic performance and recovery lotion is an easy, effective way for athletes to prepare for skill training and workouts in full swing. Founded by Todd Smith, a former college athlete and head athletic trainer at 2 collegiate programs himself, even some of the athletes at the University of Maryland are taking advantage of the product, including star linebacker Ruben Hippolyte. Make sure you go over to quickstretchbodyworks.com and check it out today. Again, that is quickstretchbodyworks.com.
All right, fellas, let's dive into this, man. It was our first road trip of the season, Ryan and I. I know it was fun. It was kind of like a last minute decision to make this trip happen, but it was a good trip. It was fun. Can't compare it to Minnesota, like that can't be the bar. We've talked about that, but either way, it was a very good trip.
Yeah, we need some Quick Stretch Bodyworks lotion for those long car rides. That's for sure. The trip down was an awful lot of fun. Me and Fred kind of got in a groove. It was like some 90s karaoke. I think we could have done like a Patreon to watch Ryan and Fred sing karaoke to North Carolina. The trip back got a little more intense in the drive. You're just like, yeah, I'm done being in a car, Fred. All done.
Yeah. 7 hours straight with basically just bathroom breaks and gas breaks to go. It's when you get older, it's a little tough to do. But you know, what do you do when you kill the time? You either sing 90s music or you just bet a whole bunch of money. And that was one of the things we decided to do. It didn't work out in our favor, we'll say.
Yeah. We passed through Virginia and we took care of our bets on the way down. You know, one of the very few states that has it right, because Maryland keeps lying to me and telling me we have online sports betting, but they just won't let us pull a trigger. So we have to, you know, beg, lie, cheat, and steal. I will say I'm pretty impressed that the VPNs don't let you bet in other states. I am impressed by your technology that stops me. But, you know, driving through another state isn't all that hard, I guess.
Yeah, that was me a couple weeks ago. I was down in Tennessee and just hopped back in, downloaded DraftKings, FanDuel, and it's makes you disappointed that Maryland hasn't gotten it together. But due time, still a couple months away, it seems like.
Yeah, we're close to that finish
line. Well, based on our betting patterns,
golly.
Based on our betting patterns, we're lucky they don't have it because we haven't done so well.
Yeah, it's a good thing for my bank account right now.
Yeah,
we did get a chance to play a round of golf at Traditions, which was a nice golf course. So on the way down there, we decided to try to sneak in 18, and the weather permitted. It was probably the one time through the entire trip that the weather actually permitted us to be able to do anything outside. But it was a good time.
That's what the weather forecast looked like. It was going to be raining all weekend, so we decided to squeeze that one in. The next morning or that night we got together, went to the restaurant right down the street, and it ended up being right across the street from the team hotel. We had no idea.
Yeah.
Walked in, first face we saw was Dustin and some of the other Maryland staff. There was the driver for the truck and some of the support staff that make all these trips possible. So he was showing them a good time. The Tiafo match was on TV, so everybody was having a good time watching that.
Yeah,
Ryan America's darling.
Ryan gets us an Airbnb and a townhouse. And this Tiafo match is going on, I don't know, around what, 10, 11 o'clock?
Midnight.
Something like that. And we all know how loud Ryan is. And that's just on a normal talking basis. Well, Tiafo's going off and he's coming back. It seemed like as soon as we turned the match on, Tiafo kind of turned things around and made a comeback in that, what was it, the fourth set, I guess.
Yeah, we watched the first set at the restaurant, and then boom, and kind of missed the second and third where he ended up losing. And we turn on that fourth set and we starts making his comeback where he's like, "Are you not entertained?" and all that cool stuff. I was like, this guy's an absolute all-star. I was bought it hook, line, and sinker. I've never been so into tennis. Of course, my whole Terps hood, homeboy stuff helped, but this guy just had an it factor that I've only seen a couple times. I remember there was a dumb example, but there was this guy on The Voice that I watched, and I said, this dude's gonna win it. Like
Javier Colon.
No, it was the guy that sang the Avril Lavigne song and looked like Jay-Z. It was I can't remember what his name was, but I called him the very first song that he did. I said, this dude's going to win it. There's no way in hell you can look like a G singing the Avril Lavigne song and not be able to pull off winning this, and he did. And that's just Tiafo. He's an all-star. No matter what he was going to do in life, he was going to be good at it.
Yeah, that's true. Did you get a chance to watch any of that tennis matchup, Ahmed?
Nah, not too much. My dad was texting me about it, being like, "Yeah, they keep mentioning Maryland," and I was like, "Yeah, it seems like him and Locks have a pretty good relationship too." So it's now I didn't see it, but he fell. I think it was championship to the 19-year-old.
Yeah, exactly.
That
guy, the quarterfinals,
unreal.
That guy he's the next guy coming up. But yeah, it's pretty cool to see Tiafo just dominate like that.
Yeah, it was for sure. Well, we woke up game day, and it was absolutely torrential downpour. As soon as I opened my eyes, I heard water, and I'm like, please tell me that's Ryan in the shower. It wasn't. It was absolutely pouring down rain. And we had plans to go to the Terrapin Club and Big Page's tailgate. So we were like trying to figure it out because I think it started around 12 o'clock. We were trying to figure out the right time to leave, and we're like, all right, well, we'll leave at 10:30, do a walk around campus. We hadn't had a chance to really walk around campus yet. We wanted to just kind of take it in and see what was out there. And we leave. And I mean, it's like I said, just torrential downpour for, I guess, the first 10, 15 minutes of our walk. And then immediately kind of let up.
It was drizzling. It let us get just far enough away to start dumping on us. And we're like, well, I guess we've committed. So I'm sitting here with the, shellntell giant umbrella hat, getting torrentially downpoured on, wandering through what we thought was going to be kind of like more of a city campus, because it looks like it's dead in the center of Charlotte, but it has nothing on campus. It's just campus. Like
it's just beautiful. Campus. But I will say it's absolutely beautiful, and it looks like it's not very old. It looks like everything has been redone and everything's been rebuilt. I'd say probably within the last 10, 15 years. Very modern looking, very clean university. Wasn't a whole lot, like you said, bad weather and whatnot. Wasn't a whole lot going on. But we did make our way over to the tailgate. Had a really good time. Got to talk with Ben Page. Actually ran into the Viners. Ran into Wayne and
Mason.
Yep. Got a chance to talk to them and catch up with them for a few minutes. Food was outstanding, including the cake, including the strawberry pound cake.
There was some good people there, man. I mean, it was an interesting mix to have the old line tailgates, just kind of good old boys having a good time, and Terrapin Club just kind of there, having a good time, kind of like meet and greet and like hobnobbing. It's very different groups of people on those, but it all worked out nicely. Everybody bonded over their love of the Terps. The food was good. We had to talk to, like you said, the young Terps guys, and they gave us kind of the inside scoop on the whole campus. I didn't know. Apparently, it is basically brand new. It was a commuter college that the state dumped a bunch of money into to try to make a legit university out of, to make it a new funding resource for the city, basically. So there's all these brand new buildings that you would think they just have a donor base like crazy, but they don't. They have tax dollars.
State
tax
funding.
dollars built this castle. And it was a really good time. I think that it was to see that the Terps can do this. They can take the show on the road. They can have a good event like that is really cool. I hope that it multiplies. I hope it grows. We're going to have to add some like entertainment type stuff, some music, some games, something into it next time. But it was really cool what they got going down there. And for a first time, it was attended really, really well.
Yeah, I was really surprised with the turnout. Absolutely. Was very surprised with the turnout. Food, like I said, was great. The drinks were good. People were great. And then we obviously left there, wanted to make our way over to the stadium to kind of check that out pregame and whatnot. And I tell you, there's a lot about this stadium that I liked. I mean, it's obviously got that smaller stadium vibe. So you have certain accesses within this stadium that you're not going to get at a Big Ten school, just because these stadiums are so massive and you're kept away from the players in most places in that stadium. This felt, I mean, like when you were in your seats or when you were walking up, you were right there on the field. You had real easy access to the player tunnel where the guys were coming out and stretching during the pregame, and where they came out to run onto the field, gather up and run out on the field. Got some really cool videos, some really cool pictures. It was just, I really like the way it's built. I mean, it's built kind of into a bowl. And I think right now it houses I think they said 18,000.
Wow.
But you could easily see, as this university grows and as things, happen over time, they can build an upper tier to it really easily and get up to that, 40 to 50,000 range if they want to.
Yeah,
Dang.
and I think they will. I think they'll get it there.
Yeah.
Dang, that's pretty impressive. That's I didn't know that essentially it's brand new facilities and not campus, but buildings and whatnot. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, definitely glad to hear that. Especially I think I heard about 215 people were at the tailgate. So it sounded like it's kind of
That would
all
not
came together
shock
really
me.
well.
Yeah, I know
that's really
those
good.
two weren't there together, but it was a lot of people that rolled through the whole time. Even like as we were leaving, there was still probably 5 people like checking in, to go to the tailgate for the first time. So it was really good.
Good.
It was for sure. Well, let's dive into this game, man, because as we said, the Terps win big, 56-21. Now 8-1 in non-conference play under Coach Locks. Team scored 4 touchdowns in the first 4 drives, all of which were under 2-minute drives and needed 5 plays or less. Pretty impressive offensive game.
It was the big plays, big chunks we took out of that. I mean, if we keep playing like this, we might lose a lot of time of possession battles, but it doesn't mean you're losing the game when you're scoring in 3 or 4 plays like this.
Yeah, and I thought it was a pretty good, and I think Loxy even kind of talked about it. He kind of flipped the script a little bit, and I thought if we just want to look, offensively, I thought Maryland's running attack was kind of what carried them in week 1, and then obviously last week it was the passing game, and like Ryan said, the big plays that kind of helped set that all up. So I think it was kind of good for the offense to start gaining that offensive momentum these first 2 weeks of the season, really.
Yeah, we wanted to see how Talia would respond to a game where he doesn't throw any touchdowns. That was kind of strange to not have any passing touchdowns in that first game. You got Talia in this game throwing 27-31 for 391 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. Now, mind you, he was removed from the game to an injury kind of scare midway through the third.
Rushing touchdown.
Yeah, that was scary.
So those stats are in basically 2.5 quarters of play. So if he plays the entire game, who knows where he ends up numbers wise, but a hell of a game. Now 4th all time in school history for passing yards, passing both Scott McBrien and CJ Brown. But what's most impressive to me, 87 completion percentage, the highest completion percentage in school history with 15 attempts or more.
It's absolutely an impressive feat. The only, blemish on his radar was an interception that was very clearly in the huddle. Hey, Demas, you haven't gotten yours yet. I'm throwing this to you.
Yeah.
It was that decision was made in the huddle where the ball was going. It just didn't work out.
Yeah. And I also kind of think that Demas could have maybe fought for that one a little bit more.
Agreed.
I thought that even live when I saw it and then I saw the replay, I was like, he could have made a little bit more of an effort, but it's neither here nor there at the end of the day.
Yeah, I updated my mom about the game that day. That was my very comment. I said, yeah, he threw an interception, but it was a jump ball that last year Demas doesn't lose.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was that definitely could have been one of those one-on-one that Demas comes down with. But end of the day, I think that's just something.
It'll
Hopefully,
get there.
try and get ironed out during non-conference play. I think we all kind of knew that these first 2 weeks were, this team trying to get into its groove. So you kind of hope that those small kinks get ironed out, especially before SMU.
Yeah, we might need it this week.
Yeah,
for sure.
they will.
You talk about this stable of wide receivers, man. One guy who was kind of a non-factor week 1 had a big game in this. The transfer in Jacob Copeland, 4 catches for 110 and 2 big touchdowns. Big game for him.
Yeah, and he beat these guys like a rug. I mean, he was waiting in the end zone for these passes. The balls still were probably a little bit underthrown. He had beat him so bad, kind of waited and kind of fell down with the balls, but unbelievable how open he got. It just goes to show you, like, what we talked about was true. Somebody's going to be better than who's covering them. That's just what it comes down to. We're not sure every week who's going to be. Rack didn't have a ton of things going on this game. I'm sure that was also part of the game plan.
He had a pro NFL style catch on the sideline. I'll tell you that, though.
He did,
to keep
absolutely.
his feet in bound on that catch was unreal.
And the fact that he told the coach, no, review that. That's a catch. And I'm like, I'm not sure it was. And he was right. It was kind of unbelievable to get that toe drag in.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting. And I remember I even texted you guys about Copeland, I think, after week 1. And I was like, I'm kind of surprised. I think he only had, 1 rushing attempt and 1 catch. I think it was only for 6 yards, if memory serves correct.
Yeah, not much.
1. Yeah, so, I mean, it was just, and you kind of figure, I mean, it's not like, he's struggling to find his own in that room. It just felt like Maryland didn't really target him. So I thought that for him to kind of settle in and maybe, I don't want to say have breakout game, because I think that we all kind of expected this, that he was capable of this, but just for him to be the one that kind of emerges, like we said, just kind of before everything picks up. I think that's just part of that good omen and the positive momentum that the passing attack really needs to generate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited that he got this done, this 4 for 110, but it might have been the easiest 4 for 110 you've ever seen in your life. So I'm going to need to see a little bit more of that spring game, Jacob Copeland, where I saw him breaking ankles on some short passes coming across the middle, not just standing waiting for a ball to reach him. So we still got another step to seeing Jacob, but it was a lot of fun to watch, and I'm sure he's glad to have that monkey off his back that he has been successful here in Terps uniform.
For sure. And a guy that's obviously proven that he's back and he's 100% in both of these games so far. DeSean Jones, another big day, 6 catches, 71 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And what really impresses me is not just the stats, man. It's just his ability to get open in space, use his athleticism to get yards after the catch. I mean, he is a wizard out there. Doesn't seem to let those knee injuries be haunting him or slowing him down at all.
Yeah, his 1 touchdown was all footwork. He must have juked 4 dudes out of their pants and jumped over another one to
Got
get
a
into the
real
end zone.
good video of that, too.
Right next to us.
Yeah. He just looks so smooth out there. And I think that was kind of, and I know I talked about it a little bit over the offseason, but just I think that, when you kind of look at the receiver room and you think about, Dante Demas, first rounder, and Rakeem Jarrett, for day 1, day 2 pick, and then obviously Copeland leading the every statistical category for Florida a season ago, and then joining this room. I think DeSean may have been like that forgotten guy, but even in week 1, he did a really good job of like Fred said, just getting open and being able to make plays in space. So I think he's just a perfect kind of compliment for this receiver room. So
yeah, they're not forgetting now.
No, not at all. He looks really, really good. He stuck out a couple times to me last week.
And sticking with the offense, man, let's talk a little bit about this running back core, because like we talked about, I mean, they've got a ton of talent, and they've got a really good rotation right now, and it could be any back's day on any given week. And we obviously saw that in this week. Hemby and Brown got the most involvement. They got the most touches in this game, but it was Colby McDonald and Antoine Littleton that had the big plays in this game.
Yeah, McDonald turns four attempts into a game high 61 yards, thanks to a 49-yard TD. And Littleton's run might have been even more impressive.
Yeah.
Not in the way you'd think Littleton runs are impressive, of bulldozing people over. The fact that this man broke one tackle, yes, but he got to the secondary and outran 3 or 4 guys half his size, just pulling away the entire run to the end zone. A whole one attempt for 59 yards. He did get a pass to him later, but one touch, 59-yard TD. I think this is how you win Big Ten games. You just surprise people by going, oh, yeah, you practice for Talia all week? We're going to run the ball 50 times.
Yeah. And I think that was kind of the biggest question for this running back room, though, was just the ability to hit the big plays. And obviously, like we said, Buffalo and Charlotte, that's not going to be Michigan State, in a couple weeks, but just the ability to keep defenses honest a little bit more. And I think MB being able to show what he did in week 1, just being able to break outside, and once he's in the open space, I mean, if it's a foot race, there's not
Nobody's
many people that are
catching
going to, yeah, there's not many that are going to be able to really catch up with him. So I think that's kind of been a probably the biggest takeaway from this offense. But yeah, I mean, even when Littleton was in high school, even though he was at 265 or so, I mean, you could tell he was very light on his feet, and he was able to make some plays in space. And obviously, like just his offseason transformation and being able to trim down while maintaining that athleticism, but becoming, fitting more of that mold of that, traditional Big Ten power back. It's a big reason why, one, that this running back room is running back room by committee, but 2, why he's been able to, carve his own role in this rushing attack. So it's been interesting to see, all 3 of those guys at this point kind of get their own turn. And I was joking about it with John Diggs. It seems like maybe this week Ramon Brown gets a chance. So it'll be interesting to see. But definitely a welcome performance in week 2 by this backfield.
Yeah, the biggest thing is Talia's nowhere near the top of the carry chart, the yardage marker. Like, that's what we saw multiple games last year, was he'd be second or third in the team in rushing yardage. He doesn't have to do it. Like, sure, he still has the ability if we need it, but we got all these guys that can handle it. I hope he's never in our top 3 all year for rushing. We don't want to see that happening. And the other thing that me and Fred noticed, because of this stadium, because we were so close to these players, Ahmed gets to see these guys up close a lot more often than we do. But our freshmen just look different this year, man. We got to see Andre Roy like right at the entranceway. All these different. I can't remember somebody else's name, but I'm just hitting Fred going like, this is what freshmen look, or this is what freshmen look like now. This is not the freshmen we were getting 2 years ago. I don't know. It's even, as scary as this year feels, it still looks like we're headed in the right direction.
Absolutely. It's a different class of athletes, a different class of player, man. It's a good thing to see, because these guys are making impact. Another guy that had an impact in this game, Octavian Smith. Ahmed was very high on him going into this year, and said, listen, this might be a wide receiver that, even with as much depth as we have at wide receiver, may burn his red shirt and not even go red shirt, because he can have such an impact, not just as a wide receiver, but also on special teams. And we're already seeing that.
Yeah, we saw it on special teams, and we finally got to see it as a wide receiver with our backup quarterback as Talia was taken off the field. Mr. Billy Edwards made me look like a liar. He looked an awful lot better than I thought he was going to look on the field. I am glad he got in there against the Charlotte team, but I saw him at least at second reads, maybe third. He was putting in some work. I'm very happy with what I saw out of him, and getting that 28-yard touchdown to Octavian Smith again. Felt like 30 feet from our seats. Got a good video of that. Sent it his way.
Nice. Yeah. And Octavian, like Fred, like you mentioned, obviously I've been pretty high on him, kind of through fall camp going into the season. I mean, we kind of saw some traits of it. I think Buffalo, he almost had that kick return for a touchdown.
Yeah.
I think it ended up being, 41 yard return. But yeah, I mean, he's just special in space. I mean, even in high school, it was just wild to think that, everyone's like, oh, he could be, an NFL level corner, but he's going to be a special receiver. And, just to kind of think that he's been that special at receiver so far, even with the cornerback room possibly, needing some bodies, some athletic bodies, to see an Octavian Smith like that, carve his own niche and as a true freshman, a couple months on campus, it's testament to just how athletic this guy is. So I think he's going to be a big piece of the offense for the next 2-3 years.
Yeah, another thing I want to bring up too, if we're going to point it out when it's bad, we need to make sure that we glorify it when it's good. And you can't overlook the adjustments that the offensive line made, specifically at the center position, because as bad as an issue it was with snaps in week 1, we did not see that in week 2.
Yep, the only bad snap I can remember is on the rushing touchdown by Talia, so apparently it didn't affect him all that much. And then he and he rushed out to the corner. So, but other than that, it was very clean. You did see kind of that nervous energy at least early, and where Talia kind of was like hopping while he's catching the snap, like ready to jump up and receive it. But he ended up not really having to. It was a lot cleaner, a lot better, and basically every center on our roster got to play that day and get some meaningful reps. So that was good to see as well.
That's the other guy. That was the other freshman that stood out to me.
Colton Deary
was
I was
massive.
like, that's Colton. Because I was also expecting with being a wrestler to be a little more slight, but mine is a boy.
I don't know how anybody beats that guy at wrestling. That guy should go undefeated in any weight class that he's in, as big as he is.
I think he only has 1 or 2 losses through his high school career.
Okay, well that makes sense.
And he'll
that
be
adds
wrestling
up.
at Maryland. Yeah.
At my high school, they used to have the weight class that you weren't allowed to like wrestle up or something ridiculous. So the wrestling coach would just come around and like find big dudes in schools. Like, we just need you to sign up and like you're gonna come to the matches when no one's in that weight class and just put your hand in the air. Like, I don't know who was fighting this guy in high school. Was there anybody in his weight class? Did he have to go to Pennsylvania for his wrestling matches? That's a big boy. I am very excited for his future. Things are going to be good. Keep these boys out of the transfer portal. Keep them here. Grow them homegrown, and we're going to be all right.
Yeah, and then the last thing I'm going to point out on the offensive side before we go defense, and I just wanted to get your guys' take. Are you guys surprised with the lack of tight end usage in the passing game so far through 2 weeks?
No, because I mean I think Digest is a guy, and I don't want to say like he's a secret because I don't think he is at this point, but I think he'd be more like I could see him being like that X factor in conference play, and this could just be a byproduct of Maryland still, being a little bit more vanilla, a little bit more traditional on offense.
Not putting out tape.
Yeah, and I think it's clear at this point. I mean, I even mentioned this, kind of leading into the offseason. It doesn't, it's not a complete new revelation, but Digest is kind of that receiving threat, and then Dupree is obviously that blocking threat. Digest can block, Dupree can catch, but we've seen Dupree a lot more out there as that extra blocker, and I think that sometimes helps just because of his overall strength. I mean, even when he joined as a freshman, Dupree, he was one of the strongest on the team. So doesn't entirely shock me. And again, I think we all talked about just how deep the receivers are, and then obviously just the emphasis on creating that balanced attack. So I think it's more of a case of Maryland knows that they can lean on the tight ends if need be, but it's not a focal point in the sense of like Maryland's going to be game planning around their tight ends.
Okay.
I think Loxley's kind of always, talked about, the 2 tight ends playing a prominent role in his offense and 2 tight end sets and whatnot. And I think we've seen that, but it doesn't surprise me. And I don't think it's like a indictment of, where Dupree or Dyke just kind of stands in the offense or anything like that, or there's not enough confidence in them. I think it's just more, Maryland trying to be a little more traditional, because I think Dyke just is a guy that maybe after this year, maybe after next, but I think this is an NFL caliber prospect. So I think Maryland's definitely conscious of that. So we'll see what it looks like in about 2-3 weeks.
I'm not trying to be critical in any kind of way.
Oh,
it was
no,
just,
I agree.
We had talked going into the year that even guys like Weston Wolf have looked good, and LaRon Husbands, even Coach talked about him. So I thought in some of these more non-conference, the easier games, maybe we'd see those guys get a few snaps just to see what they look like in the offense. So that's my only surprise with it. Not so much Deitch's, more so just not seeing tight end involvement in the offense. That's all.
That's fair. I think Dupree, I think even week 1, I think he only had 1, maybe 2 targets, but I know 1 that ended up being incomplete. But I think it's like I said, I think Maryland could definitely open up the playbook and include those guys a lot more as maybe a secret or like an X factor, to a team that hasn't seen that on tape yet. So I think that's kind of in my mind, that's where I see it all playing out.
Yeah, I saw two very good catches from Dyches in this game, in traffic, getting hit early. So I'm confident in his ability. I also saw when I went back and watched the game afterwards, didn't notice this in stadium, but that there were some like bubble type screens and things going on where both tight ends were involved. One of them was Dyches missed a block and got Dupree tackled for like a loss of 2. And it was, you could kind of like see Dyches like on himself. Like, I knew I did that wrong, whatever. Like, so I do think that there's also like a tight end package that's being worked on, like these new plays or new whatever, getting them in these new roles that just probably isn't ready yet. Or like Ahmed said, they're going to show it later. But I could definitely see like some like immediate feedback that like he was in Dupree's like, I know this is what I did wrong, we'll do it better next time, like kind of thing, where it was very clear that they want to run that again, they want to get it right, because it would have been Dupree in space against small people. Like, that's a great thing to have.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man, let's move over to the defensive side of the ball. And as we talked about earlier, we had pretty close access to the players, like I said, through warm-ups and as players are coming out of the locker room and whatnot, and kind of going through a player analysis as guys are coming out, and they're coming out in position groups. You're looking for all the marquee names and whatnot just to see them. And one name that was on the missing persons report for us, Tarib Still, not traveling with the team last week. We didn't understand why. We were kind of out of the loop with it. Found out that reports he had cut his hand severe enough to do kind of nerve damage and needing surgery. Update us on that, Ahmed. Where's Tarib Still kind of stand with everything?
Yeah, and I'd heard. Well, I didn't hear about the injury before game day, and then kind of after the fact, I asked a couple people, and it seemed like there was a outside chance that maybe he played this week or this upcoming weekend against SMU. And before the Loxley announced on Tuesday that Tarheeb still was out, I heard that if he didn't play this week, he'd play next week, which Loxley came out and said that they're expecting him back for Michigan. So sounded like it truly was just kind of like a freak accident in the locker room. And that was why he missed the Charlotte game. But like I said, I think the secondary, it's going to be kind of interesting how it shakes out this week without Tarheeb still, because that's definitely a noticeable loss for that unit. But doesn't sound like there's too much long-term concern about him. So we'll see what his availability is for the Big Ten opener. But as for this weekend, he is unavailable.
Well, I'm really glad to hear there's no long-term damage. It really confused me at first. First of all, when you hear freak accident locker room, you're like, what the hell happened? What sports, trainer cut this man, putting tape on his hand, whatever. I don't, it was kind of shocking. And then also this week, when they said he wasn't available, I'm like, how does this even make sense? Like, clearly whatever happened, he got treated like before last week's game. He's a defensive player. How is it's not just like a lineman thing? Why is he not in a club cast playing this week? I don't understand what risk that hand is. I'm clearly not a hand surgeon. I don't know what's going on, but it just felt weird to me, and I got really scared when they said he was missing another week. Like, how bad is this? So I was really glad to hear that he's be back for Michigan.
Yeah, corner. I don't think you're under appreciating how much a corner uses their hands to jam a receiver at the line, or going up after a ball, or breaking somebody's hands up. I mean, yeah, these are things that they could do with a club on their hand, but again, you're going up against a team like Charlotte, who you're expected to win. Why wouldn't you just take the risk, to just
I understood why it wasn't in Charlotte. It's this week that scared me.
Yeah, I get that. But you also get, I think, is it Corey Coley is coming back this week as well. So there will be another body that will have.
He was at practice last week, but it sounded like they were just kind of easing him back in. So he should be available this weekend. So should be a help for the secondaries.
That's good. Yeah. We're going to need it. Why don't we get back to talking defense from that game before we worry about the terrible things going on next week? We're going to hope it all goes well.
Yeah. Well, our defensive player of the week this week was a guy who led the team in tackles, and he's led the team in tackles both weeks. Bo Braid, another big game for him.
Yeah, 6 tackles each week. I don't love that our safety is leading us in tackles each week, but he does play a lot in the box. He does come up and play that kind of hybrid role. So I'm just convincing myself all these tackles come when he's playing basically a linebacker hybrid. That's just what I'm going to tell myself.
Okay.
Yeah. and that's also kind of just like his strength. I think that was kind of, and then, I think pass coverage is kind of an area where he can work a little bit more. But it was just even like out of high school. I mean, he does really well inside the box, has great instincts, great tackler in the open field. So I think that's kind of just a byproduct, like Fred said, just of where he's lining up and how Brian Williams is using him on defense.
Well, outside of that, it was just kind of scary. I mean, we rolled down, scored the first 7 points like it was nothing, and they immediately answered. And me and Fred just kind of look at each other like, what just happened? I don't understand how Charlotte, who loses to FAU, who loses to William and Mary, just scored like nothing was happening. It was penalties, it was chunk plays, it was a quick score.
And mind you, they were going against their third string quarterback, a freshman, who did a really good job, I'll be honest with you, of being poised, moving around in the pocket, scrambling out, and just being calm and taking his shots when he needed to take the shots. And he was effective at moving the ball and extending drives. I mean, you got to, as much as you want to be critical of what did the Terps do wrong, you also got to give credit to a kid who had a hell of a game against a very good team.
He did. I don't know if he's going to be on Charlotte next year. I think he's going to be poached from the portal to somebody because he showed off some stuff there. We were getting pressure inside the pocket, but we were not keeping contain on this guy, and he was making us pay rolling out to the flats. We were definitely not keeping coverage long enough because there were multiple times that game where we could have lost another 7 points with wide open receivers standing there that somehow got missed by the grace of God.
Yeah. One of the things I did want to bring up to you, Ahmed, and I want to get your take on this because I know before the season we had talked a little about Wheatland and how good this kid is coming in as a 3-star freshman. You expected to see him see the field, and we're seeing a lot of Wheatland on the field to a point where we're not seeing, I don't know the snap counts. I haven't seen the snap counts on it, but I feel like Ruben hasn't been on the field quite a bit in these first 2 games because Wheatland's been out there. Do you think that you'll see that even more into conference play, or is this more just getting an idea of what your depth looked like and we will run through Ruben and Ruben will be our guy in conference play?
Well, I do think Maryland's going to end up rotating their linebackers a lot, but another linebacker that we haven't seen a ton of the first 2 weeks is Okayy Gote, and he's been there, but it hasn't been, wasn't like last season where he went in as the expected starter, and if he stayed healthy, he kind of would have reclaimed that position throughout the year. So, I think it's kind of a combination of both, just keeping the linebackers fresh and trying to also develop some of these younger guys. I don't expect Wheatland, I don't expect Barham to end up redshirting this year. I think both of them kind of played through that, and just because partly Maryland could potentially lose all starting linebackers next year, and I think Ruben, obviously, he's a pretty good candidate to come back if he chooses to do so. But I think like it's kind of that ascension process to try and build up your depth a little bit more. But like I said, I think Wheatland's a heck of a player. He's been able to, him and Barham really have been the first 2 that have drawn rave reviews since they enrolled back in January, and it's been really consistent. So I think it's just also kind of both in hand.
I like it. Yeah, I mean Barham, when I watch him, what I see is he is as advertised. I'd like to see him. He is. I'd like to see him in a little bit more of a rush situation where he can create pressure a little bit more, get more opportunities. But
good news, you're going to see that in person in a couple weeks in Michigan. That's
I hope so.
They're going to let that cat out of the bag right there in Big Ten play and just see how it goes.
Not a bad idea. They will definitely need it against that Michigan front. So, but yeah, he's a special player. I think he was named to 2 freshman All-American teams. It was I think ESPN and 24/7. So, I mean he's definitely no shortage of talent. So, but yeah, like I said, I think inside linebackers, they did a good job rotating a lot last year, and I think inside outside, Vandarius Cowan lined up both inside and outside, and Mon McCullough's kind of shifted back inside. So I think just kind of trying to get unique and keep those linebackers fresh to maybe help mitigate just new faces, new pieces, just kind of meshing together. So it'll be interesting to see whether that rotation tightens at all going into the season, or if Foxy kind of stays with the same approach. But I think they kind of feel comfortable with a number of guys inside and out.
I will say there probably were more adjustments than we were realizing, because the 14 points came quick and in a hurry. And then all of a sudden there was a nice gap before that 7 points was scored in kind of garbage time. You could take this as a good
by
or
another
a bad.
quarterback too at that point.
you can take this as a good or a bad, but I haven't seen a ton of drop off from the 1s to the 2s to the 3s. Like, you can't really tell when this happens. Like, you have to really pay attention to what numbers are out there. There's not a huge difference in what the defense is doing. Again, you can take that as our 1s are playing like 2s, or you can take that as our 2s are playing like 1s. I don't know how you want to take it. But there's not a huge drop-off, so hopefully we are at least building the depth for the future. But the future is now for this team. We need to make some noise to keep this future going, and the defense is what's going to matter for that, because this offense has proven it will put up points. We need to make sure the other team doesn't put up more.
Yeah, again, this is a game that I don't think any of us expected for the defense to give up 21 points in this game.
We definitely bet the under, and that's why we're not rich.
Yeah,
we parlayed some
sure.
stuff with the under, and the defense took our money.
That rain clouded your guys' expectation, huh?
We did tease.
Exactly.
We did tease the Terps all the way to a 34.5 point spread, and we cashed in on that. So, but it would be really nice to have parlayed that with the under and been rich right now.
Yeah.
Well, I included Maryland in my parlay week 1. They were minus 24. So I might be staying away from Maryland.
Bro, I can beat you on that one. I had 21. I had 21.5 points, so I was off by a half point.
Yeah,
because I bought my ticket like 2 months before the season started, so it was the lower number, and so I lost by a half point on that game.
That was me on Iowa, minus 4.5. We don't need to talk about that, but yeah. So we'll see how week 3 kind of shakes out for Maryland. But yeah, I just thought the defense looked really bad the first quarter. Honestly,
Yeah.
I mean, there's just the lack of pressure.
Really
I
bad.
thought the secondary just did look. I mean, it was just. And like you said, Fred, I mean, this was a freshman that was making his first career start. So a little bit of concern there. But so we'll see. Maybe Maryland really will have to score at least 40 every single week in order to have a shot. So I think SMU will kind of give us a better gauge on that.
Yeah, definitely will be a better litmus test. So let's talk special teams. And honestly, there really wasn't a whole lot to talk about special teams in this game just because of the lack of opportunities. The only guy that did get a ton of opportunities, our kicker, Chad Ryland, he got a chance at 8 extra points, and he was successful 8 out of 8 times. It's 100%. So he was our special teams player of the week.
Yep, and 9 kickoffs, and the only ones that were returned was one that Charlotte just got sick of watching the ball bounce out of the end zone, so they returned it from 8 yards deep to give it a try. It didn't work. They were stopped within inside the 20. And then late in the game, pretty clearly, Loxley said, okay, I'd like to see what my coverage team does. Can you air the absolute bejesus out of this ball? So there was about a 30-second hang time to land on the 10-yard line, so they all just circled the man on kickoff. So this guy has a rocket leg. If we don't want anyone returning the ball, they're not going to return the ball. Yeah. We are going to kick it out of the back of the end zone and not worry about that part. It's really, really impressive to see what a kicker can do for your team. I hope we don't need it, but I know we will see some big kicks this guy needing this year, and it'll feel a lot better than it did last year.
For sure.
I mean, I think, Ryland is kind of every single time he gets mentioned by Loxley, always gets talked about as, the biggest, most impactful portal addition that we had. And I think, I think we'll definitely have a game this year where we kind of see reason why Loxley was so confident in that. So through 2 weeks,
maybe this one,
maybe, yeah, I do have it 48-45. So it might be that for this week. So it'll be kind of interesting.
All right, well, let's turn the focus to Saturday night matchup versus SMU. SMU comes in at 2-0. It's a 7:30 kickoff down at Capital One Field. This is a kids game promotion. Ryan, what all are they doing to get families and kids involved with this at a late game? 7:30, kind of weird.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll start with the negative. I was going to smack this down. What are you doing, Maryland? Are you kidding me? This was one of the coolest things you did last year was this kids game promotion. They have these inflatables where you run through football players, you climb through all the soccer teams and basketball teams and all take a little spot where they kind of coach up the kids and whatever the sport is that they're good at. It was awesome. But it's a 7:30 kickoff. What you didn't even announce when this was going to happen at the beginning of the season. So you could have moved it when you see a 7:30 kickoff. It's for kids under 13. The game starts at 7:30. It's not going to be done till close to midnight. Why in the world would this be your kids special for the buy one adult ticket, get two half price kids special kids tailgate? Are you kidding me? Like, do you have anyone that's ever met a child on your staff? Have you ever seen a kid's bedtime? Let me give you a hint. It's 7:30. I'm sorry, but every time, why is this team gets in the way? You want to fill the shell, but you do this? What? Last year we had 16 people for the Child's game. We got all 12 of my tickets, and we bought some more to get this going on. I can't find a single parent that wants to come to the tailgate and leave at halftime. I can't do it. So we'll fill the shell. We can tour. You can ask them. Locks, you can ask them. I'm looking at tickets. There's tickets in every section of the stadium.
Yeah.
I'm going to be really sad. I expect it to be a lot of fun for me, but no, the shell's not going to be full. Sorry. This is not an educated enough football fan base to understand that SMU is actually a good game. So you're not going to get that, Ohio State's coming to town pump. That's not going to happen, even though it's going to be one of the best games we have in the shell this year. And you made it a kids promotion at night.
Yeah, a lot of that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's hard to argue. I don't have kids, so I guess 7:30 is when they go to bed.
I mean, even if it's not, I just take them to the tailgate in the first quarter? I mean, it's by halftime, it's going to be 10:30. By the time we'd be home, it'd be 11:30. I don't know. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe it'll be fine. My two children will be there because I'm crazy. And I'm hoping they get through the whole game. My wife is planning on leaving at halftime and taking them home, but I'm hoping that changes between now and Saturday. So we'll see. But yeah, it's pretty disappointing because it was one of the things that people, again, part of my goal with helping the Terps is I give away my tickets to people and try to grow this and try to show them it's a good time. Because living up here in Harford County, nobody thinks that the Terps is something to do. Nobody thinks that it's an outing. But for football, it can be. It's a whole day event. That the hour drive isn't a big deal because you're spending 6-7 hours down there. So I've shown a lot of people it's a good time. And a couple of them asked us, hey, let us know when that game is again, and we'll do it. Not at 7:30, they're not. It's kind of disappointing. I was really excited to keep that, kind of tradition going. Luckily, we brought a bunch of kids to last game. Had a good time all on their own with, fun kid stuff that the school puts on. So, we'll keep it rolling our own way, but kind of disappointing, kind of, par of the course what we've been talking about of yeah, they're trying, but they're just bad at it.
They just can't get out of their own way.
I truly believe they're trying to grow it. It looks like they're putting more effort in. It looks like they're putting more money into it, but just ask somebody. Why? I don't know.
Yeah. Marketing can definitely improve. I think that's something that could be held true for the last 10 years or so. I didn't think about it.
Prove me wrong, people. Sell all the tickets.
I think the way that I kind of thought about it to do kids game promotion is, for maybe those parents that are on the fence, and for Ryan, correct me if you think I'm wrong. But the parents maybe are on the fence saying, oh, well, we have to take care of the kids. And then maybe it helps incentivize, just having additional activities that, are inside Maryland Stadium for kids to, stay engaged and have a good time while, also having a good football game, high scoring at their disposal. So that was kind of my thought process, but I can definitely
that would be good, but that's not even what they're doing. It's the events are outside of the stadium. It's beforehand. It's the tailgate, which of course that's fine. The tailgate, they'll all be awake for that. So sure, there might be a bunch of local under 13-year-old kids that get a little bit of exposure to a Terps tailgate, but how many of them are actually going to come to the game? I don't know. I was fully willing to have a bunch of tickets bought and to have them show up for one quarter and go home. But it just feels a lot different than it did last year. I think last year was a 3:30 kick. It just worked perfect. Of course, you can't beg and plead for that every year. Maybe they already know when these TV kickoff times are, and we're not getting a single 3:30 kick. And, noon's going to already be a problem because it's going to be 9 a.m. when the kids' stuff opens. So, beggars can't be choosers. I get they're probably in the TV pocket here on this one, but it just kind of feels gross.
I think it's the right game choice. Again, SMU is a team that, it's going to be an entertaining football game. It's just the wrong time slot for, like you said, for kids. That's the one downside. If you're trying to appeal to a younger generation, you want a game that they're going to remember, just like the Ohio State game. Not that we expected to be in that Ohio State game that I went to with you, Ryan, but that's what we talk about because of how entertaining of a game it was. Comes down to the last play on a 2-point conversion that we don't convert, but we still walk away from that game heads held high. It's a memory we'll always have. Well, I think this game has that kind of potential just because it's going to be high octane, high scoring, and it could come down to a 2 or 3 point game at the end. So it has that.
And maybe it's just not for my kids. Maybe I'm just not old enough. Like maybe there'll be a bunch of 10 to 13-year-olds there. Great, awesome. I hope it just every middle school is packed into that place. That'd be awesome. That would be one of the best things. So it just didn't work for me. So maybe I just got blinders on as my 5-year-old kids. Is definitely not the age demographic for this. But I hope we pack it out. The ticket sales don't look great, but again, we've seen that over and over again. That the ticket sales are so late. Like even that Penn State game that sold out, there still were like 20 sections that said many tickets available, and then all of a sudden they were all gone. So I don't, hopefully everybody steps up. The weather's good, and we get some people out there. I'm excited to see the stadium in the dark again. You know me, I'm a fan of all the pyrotechnic and all the fun that can happen in dark that just doesn't work during the day. So I'm still really excited for the game.
Oh,
just
absolutely.
The kids promotion kind of made me shake my head.
Absolutely. If we remove that from the equation, I mean, you're talking about a game that the line just keeps moving all over the board. Right now, the Terps sit at a 2.5 point favorite. I saw it at 4 like yesterday.
Yeah.
The over and unders, it's
public believes in SMU apparently.
Yeah, apparently. Over under right now set at 73.5. Look, these are two teams that kind of mirror each other in a lot of ways. Both can put up crooked numbers offensively. The biggest questions come on the defensive side of the ball for both teams. Both are pretty decent up front, but have issues on the back end. SMU had almost 600 yards of offense versus North Texas in week 1. They like to play with a lot of tempo, can create big plays off of teams not being uplined right. That's kind of how they get their offense moving, is kind of getting you on your heels and catching you off guard. Rashee Rice, obviously the leader for SMU at wide receiver, but they also have a total of 6 guys with 5+ targets. So they move the ball around. You can't center focus on one guy and expect to shut this entire offense down. And we're talking about a Terps defense again that just gave up 292 passing yards to a couple of backup quarterbacks, including mainly a third-string freshman.
Yeah, this is not going to be any walk in the park. I mean, you can talk about who they played this year. They played Lamar, and I can't even remember who the other one is. Nobody. Texas. But look at their schedule last year. They played UCF. They won that game. They played Navy. They won that game. They played USF. They won that game. They played TCU. They won that game. And then they were within 1 score of both Memphis and Houston, like in big scores. This is not going to be a walk in the park. Anybody that thinks this is a cupcake we scheduled, we did not. Our cupcakes are done. The season starts on this Saturday.
Locke said himself he looks at SMU as a top 25 type team.
Yeah. I mean, we're both in the same realm. Like we're 20 to 35. I don't know where you want to put us in there, but that's where we belong right now. Whether the numbers are there or not, like that's where it is.
Yeah, I think it's fair, and I think it seems like kind of the consensus is that the team and obviously the coaches are going to take it all seriously, but the team itself knows this isn't going to be it's not like the first 2 weeks caliber opponent. And I just kind of look at it, just kind of what we've seen out of the defense and just maybe the inconsistency to generate pass rush and maybe some concerns in the secondary, and especially with Darky still down. I think this is going to be a really good game for guys like Gavin Gibson, Lionel Whitaker. Lionel Whitaker has actually done a really good job, and I see the flashes from Gavin Gibson, and I think it's just kind of him just kind of acclimating himself to the position and getting like the actual in-game reps. That's just kind of like just watching him, it feels like he's just you can tell he's like picking up on it, but it is maybe a half second late. So I think when you kind of look at the early snaps and how you watch players develop on the line, I think these first couple of weeks are really going to help Gavin Gibson down the line. But this is truly a true test for this defense. The secondary is going to be tested. I think it was last year when Maryland was showing that they can't do a great job of generating the front seven, but they have to cover. I think SMU has those weapons. They reloaded through the portal. like Fred talked about, they have 6 guys that have gotten at least 5 targets this year, so they have multiple weapons, multiple par 5 bounce backs. So this is going to be a tough matchup for this team. And SMU scored actually both Maryland and SMU. Actually, no, so, excuse me, Maryland didn't score 40 plus in the first game, but SMU scored 45 and 48 these first 2 weeks. So the offense is definitely more than capable. So it's going to be interesting. I'm not nervous about a Maryland win, but I definitely think this is not going to be. I don't think this is going to be anything more than 7 points.
Yeah,
I'm more just disappointed in like the hype around this game, because like this team is better than the public's giving it credit for. Like, you could just replace this team's name with UCLA, who's probably not anywhere near as good as SMU is, and there would not be tickets for sale. It would have sold out because of the snob level fanship that we have, that like it has to be a name brand to be looked at. But this is a better football team than a UCLA would be. Like, this is going to be a test. It's going to be fun. I look at this game kind of a little bit different than Fred, apparently, because I think that this comes down to Mr. Rice. I do think this is a Penn State level game where, like, we were the better team last year, but we let Dotson beat us. And this dude could beat us. So I just want to make sure if we lose, we don't lose the same damn way we did last year and letting one guy go for 250 while everybody else is there. So I'm really don't see a repeat. That's what I'm scared of, is that I'll see a repeat.
I mean, I agree with you that Rice is absolutely the guy. 6'2", 203-pound senior wide receiver. He's got 17 catches for 298 yards and 3 touchdowns already on the year. He's the guy. But you cannot forget, they've got running backs that can catch the ball. They've got a good tight end. Like, they spread the ball around, that if you get too center focused on one guy, they will beat you other ways.
They have a tight end named Maryland. That's just not fair.
Yeah, if we get beat by a tight end named Maryland, I'm going to be real upset.
He cannot score. He cannot score. This is a must.
I would come across that guy so often because like covering recruiting, I always search like Maryland offer on Twitter, and RJ Maryland every single time that guy, every single time he had an offer, he would just come up on my newsfeed. And at one point, I think halfway through, I was just like, how is this kid not being recruited by us? Like, it just seemed like such a seamless transition. So even though
Right.
I feel like I don't know him, I do know him. So
Right.
like you guys said, I think it'll be kind of interesting to see, how this defense does. And Glenn, a little banged up first 2 weeks, so it'll be kind of interesting to see, whether how he looks out there. So I don't think just me talking to a couple fans here and there. I don't get a sense that people are kind of overlooking SMU. I think a lot of people realize that this just be maybe the first shootout in College Park. So I think it will be interesting.
It's just a bandwagon I'm talking about. It's not the Maryland fans that are here every week. It's the ones that showed up for the Iowa games, the ones that showed up for the Penn State game to watch us get waxed. Those people should be here for this game to see the very first test, like they've been the last 3 or 4 years, and they don't know it yet. They don't know that this was the game they were supposed to buy tickets to. That hype came with those games.
Yeah, I mean,
That's fair.
yeah, those are the marquee matchups, and that's just the way again, Maryland fan base is in general. That's just
and basketball and football and what it is. Speaking of that, thank you, Ahmed. You put a link out on Inside the Black and Gold for the One Big Week, the drive for raising money through Maryland. And since I was headed down, I figured I might as well renew my Terrapin Club membership through Ahmed's link. And Ahmed's link's good luck, everyone. Everyone should go use Ahmed's link to donate, because I won tickets I didn't know I was entering for. I got 2 UCLA tickets to the basketball game just for re-upping my Terrapin Club membership through Ahmed's link on Inside the Black and Gold. I had no idea there was a giveaway related to the One Big Wording Week, but I'm very proud to have won them. And so now with that and the fact that I got all in my head one day and bought the season Terra Pass, where you get new seats everywhere for basketball, I have 4 tickets to UCLA, so we're going to have a blast.
There you go. Glad awesome to be of service.
So we talked a little bit about the targets that SMU has and the weapons that they have on the field, but we haven't talked about their field general. Ahmed, tell me a little bit about Tanner Mordecai. What can we expect out of this kid? What's his history with the team?
Originally, I believe almost 5-star prospect out of high school, but a high 4-star. signed with Oklahoma before transferring to SMU. So definitely an experienced guy. But his strength is obviously just his pocket, his arm strength. He's not known to be the fastest guy. And obviously with weapons at his disposal, that's a big reason why SMU is able to score 45, 48 points these first 2 weeks. So, yeah, so just with the number of Power 5 transfers that SMU's been able to add, it seems like he's kind of been able to get settled in, do a pretty good job. I think he's gonna. I don't want to say he's Big Ten caliber, but I want to say that he's a perfect quarterback for this defense leading into Big Ten play.
Yeah, he had 12 interceptions last year. He only has one, which is one per game. Only one this year in his 2 games. Average back up to 1 per game. I need 2 picks. We've had 0 this year. We've had 0 turnovers. That is unbelievable that we got through our cupcakes with 0 balls taken away, no fumble recoveries, no interceptions. How? Let's get all our good luck on this game. Let's take the ball now. All right, let's get this ball from this guy.
Well, we know they're going to be opportunities out there. There's going to be a lot of balls in the air. So hopefully these guys stock up on some stickum, do something to help them, whatever they need. Competitive advantage, man. We want to see some turnovers for sure.
There's been some balls bouncing around. We just have not got our hands on them.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the more disappointing things so far with this defense is just the lack of turnovers, especially in their first 2 matchups where you felt like they had a good opportunity to create some.
Especially against Charlotte. I really thought that they'd be able to get something. And honestly, it might be my biggest concern. I think Maryland can find ways to get creative in the front 7, but not being able to turn these pass breakups into interceptions or generate a forced fumble. I think forced fumble is a little bit tougher, but Maryland's done a good job of getting a lot of pass breakups, last season, going into this season, first 2 weeks. So yeah, it is concerning, especially for a defense when, it's more than just winning the turnover margin. I mean, when you get a turnover at home, it helps your momentum, and especially in those swing games against Purdue, against Indiana, Maryland's defense needs those type of plays. So yeah, I'd say that might be my biggest concern about Maryland. So I think SMU, they're definitely a pass first style offense. So it'll be really interesting to see if Maryland's able to convert into our heap still absence, if they're able to convert on some of those opportunities or maybe make a play when the ball's in the air.
All right, well, let's get into our predictions. Ahmed, you kind of leaked a spoiler earlier in the show, so I'll let you start, man. How do you see this game shaking out?
Yeah, take the over, 48-45. I just think it's going to be a shootout. If you haven't picked up on it already, I'm pretty skeptical about Maryland's defense so far this year. I think the secondary is fine. I think the front 7 has flashed. You've seen some of the younger guys, but I'm not sure that Maryland has the firepower to match up with SMU for maybe 60 minutes. And I think first quarter, I think SMU will be able to find some of its success. But, again, I think with as much skepticism that I have about the defense, I feel just as confident. I still feel pretty strongly that, with the passing offense, just, getting the chemistry down. And Loxley even talked about it after Charlotte, just getting some of the timing right on some of their plays, and just with a lot of their new players, but I think Maryland will be able to really click. I don't know if it's going to be 7 touchdowns first 7 possessions like it was against Charlotte, but I think there's a chance that Maryland comes close to that. So I think 48-45, 47-44, maybe that's kind of what I was going in between, but I think both teams are definitely going to score 40. So that's what I'm rolling with.
All right, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go just under the over under. I'm gonna go 38-35 Terps. What I want to see happen in this game is, yeah, those quick touchdowns that we talked about against against Charlotte were great. I want to see more methodical drives. I want to see, good, efficient first downs, using the clock up, keeping SMU off the field as much as possible, also giving time for your defense to rest. I mean, when you score, the benefit obviously is you're putting points on the board when you score quickly, but the downside of that is your defense is on the field a lot longer, right? I want to see the Terps. I think time of possession is going to be critical in this game. I want to see the Terps win time of possession and keep the score. I mean, they're going to score and we're going to score, but try to mitigate that as much as you possibly can by giving them less opportunities. That's what I would like to see in this game. I think the Terps win 38-35.
Well, all summer I've been saying we're going to be in a lot of 45-54 games, and I can't tell you which side we're going to be on. And I certainly feel even more like that now after watching these first two games. So it took everything my being to not just go with the stack all summer score of 45-54. So I think that I'm hoping that their defensive numbers that are affected by the level of play that they have. They're playing a Lamar, whoever the heck Lamar is. I fully believe in their offensive numbers. You can't put up that kind of points without, again, no matter who you're playing against. So I think that we're going to have a little bit more cushion, but I admit there's some homer in here. So these guys are probably right. If you're putting money, go with these guys. But if you're putting heart, which is all I'm doing this week, no more money. No more money. 42-31, the Terps win. I do think they keep it. Oh,
you're going just under the under as well.
Yeah, I do think they keep it close, but I'm hoping that we have an opportune turnover that erases 7 points for them and makes it a bigger game than it probably should be.
I like that.
And I go ahead, Fred.
No. All I was going to say is my, I guess, wild card prediction will be this will be the first week where Chad Ryland wins us a game.
Well, that again makes one of your predictions right.
I think that's definitely fair. I mean, it's we're going to see it at some point this year about why this guy was. I mean, kicker wasn't a huge need last year, but getting a guy like Ryland, I mean, they were really excited. So it just feels like there's going to be that game this year where you kind of get that sense of, okay, well, this is why they brought him in. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't say that I'm nervous. I've been just talking to a couple other Maryland fans about this game, and I think a lot of people are like, oh, I'm scared. I don't think we're gonna win. And for some reason, like, even though I said 40-45, like, I'm not nervous. Like, I still feel confident that Maryland's going to win. I just honestly think this is going to be a really good game this weekend. Like, I think this is just going to be that classic shootout. Just go shot for shot. Like, I think if you're a casual fan, like, just enjoy it. And I think even if you're a Maryland fan, like, just enjoy it. But I think going into the rest, and I think for the defense, I'm just kind of in, see it to believe in a mode. So that I think that's kind of just adding on to my rationale why I think SMU is going to be able to score 45. But yeah, 7:30 p.m. kickoff and two high-powered offense. I think it's kind of setting up to be a day. So fingers crossed the weather holds up.
Yeah, I'm going to let you all behind the Oz curtain. Fred's probably going to get mad at me right now, but Chad Ryland being brought up just sticks me back to this moment. So there was a moment in this game where we were where we needed to be. The Terps were up by 35, and we were under the under, which would have net me and Fred like over $2,000. and so at that point we're sitting here rooting for a shutout. Like we don't want the Terps to score, we don't want them to score, we want nothing.
Just need the ball.
Just need the ball. Just like and punt. Just like I want to see Peccarell out there every 3 feet, like whatever. So they got to the point where Talia had been hurt, and Edwards drives down. It's 4th and 3, and it's like, I don't know, they're 45 or something. It would have been like a 63-yard field goal, right?
Yep.
And Ryland literally walks onto the field, and I'm looking at Fred
warming up his leg.
I'm like,
doing the whole
stretch. How we're gonna lose this bet is a 63-yard bomb where I'm gonna have to be like really happy we have this weapon, but really sad he just took money from me. It was just so funny to even have to consider it. They ended up bringing Talia back from the dead out of the locker room to get the first down anyway. And they scored later and all apart anyway. But it was a really funny moment with like Ryland warming up from 63. And it was a reality. Like that could actually happen this year, that they trot out a kicker, a 63-yard attempt. And it's all inspiring that's a possibility.
100% that's in his wheelhouse. I mean, we got there early enough that we saw the kickers and the punters out on the field warming up, and we saw Ryland warming up from about 55 yards. And let me tell you, not only was he making them at 55, but he was hitting it midway up the net. So he easily could have made a 65-yarder on a couple of these kicks.
8 yards in both directions.
Yeah. So, I mean, this dude's got an absolute leg. It'll be exciting to see, and I hope it is this week. I hope we can see him win us a game this week. That would be fun. It'd be a cool way to walk out of that stadium riding high, knowing that you've got a special teams unit, you've got a kicker that's special like Rylan.
Yeah, especially if it ended up being like final play, game winning kick, something like that. I think that would be a really cool moment. 7:30 p.m. kickoff, hopefully better fan atmosphere, things like that. I think it would just kind of be the perfect bet on a good night. So we'll see. But
sure.
I like you said, Fred. I think if it's not this week, I don't think there's gonna be a game there where, like I said, we're gonna why he makes the staff so excited.
Yeah. Ryan, we'll see what happens, man. If you got an extra ticket still hanging out, or if I have to buy a cheap ticket to get in there and I make a decision last minute to come down there, I'll be there. Hopefully.
Fred, there is always a ticket for you, whether it's at the end of the first quarter or not. I told you, I ain't got no kids to fill these tickets right now. I'm going to be laying across seats and yelling double. That's what's going to happen.
We'll see what happens with
go.
everything at home, but hopefully I can make it down there. We appreciate you guys tuning in as always. If you're not following us on all of our social media accounts, what are you doing? Make sure you're following us on Twitter, most importantly, because that's where we interact with everybody. You can find the show at shellntell pod. You can follow me at FredBLBS. You can follow Ryan at Terps Espert. You can follow Ahmed at Kafir the Turtle, and you can follow him also on his website at Inside Black and Gold. Ryan, sign us off.
Hey, like we talked about, guys, the season starts this Saturday. We took care of business. There's a lot of teams across the country that did not take care of business, that lost to Marshall, that lost to App State, that lost to teams they shouldn't have. We took care of business. Now the season starts, and we try to buck these wins. Get down to the stadium, make me a liar, this place up, and let's have a ball together.
With nothing but 5-year-olds.
It's going to be fun. Yeah, I would be fucking shocked if that's the way it ends up happening. But empty your local middle schools into the stadium and let's ride, baby. All right, till next time, here's a wishing all is well under the shell.